He's like, hey, after 6th grade, I started thinking in the summer that like I liked you. And then whenever everyone trash talks you, I would always defend you. And at this point, he might think that, oh, the emphasis is on the I would defend you part. Obviously, my question was trash talking me because, nobody wants to be trash talked. Okay, so this is going to be a very different video from what I usually do. So today I am going to be really exposing myself and getting into the nitty-gritty of my life. And so yeah, this is a very different video from what I usually do, but due to some timing things, I just thought now or never was the time to post it because I will not be able to say this forever, but I am 23 and I've never had a boyfriend, never kissed anyone, never been in love, never been in the talking stages, never really done anything in the romance department. And so I really got inspired to make this video because I had this incident happen where I thought there was a potential boy, but I will get into that story later. And I just saw some other YouTubers. So Oh No Nina and Via both made videos about how they're like 27 and never dated, how they're 24 and never dated. And then Dustin's is actually how he's in his first relationship. So either way, I just keep seeing these relationship videos. So I thought now was the time to make this because I do not think I will be single forever. And I don't think I will be in this position where I've never dated, never whatever for forever. We'll see if anything will happen later this year in that department. But for now, I'm making this video because you never know when something will happen. So then maybe putting this video out into the universe will then lead something to happen in my life because it just wants to things just never happen the way you expect it to. So now that I'm making a video talking about how I've never dated, never done all these things, maybe those things will finally happen to me. But yeah, that's just wishful thinking. And so this video is going to be very experimental because I really like the style of video where you just kind of like give a little statement and then talk about it. And as you know, I am quite the yapper, aka why my videos are as long as they are. And this one's also going to be a really long one, I just know it. You know from the drama videos that I am a romance girly through and through. But yes, it is ironic that I have no romance going on whatsoever in my life, but that could also be the reason why I watch dramas with romance because there's nothing going on in mine. So I like to live vicariously through characters. And I'm just gonna give you the entire rundown on my romantic life, my romantic situations, all the little story times in between because why not? So for the first part, I'm going to talk about why I've never dated. And I mean dating as in exclusive, not as in going on dates, because I have done that, but it's also not as exciting as you might think it is because there was no sort of like future in all of it. It was just like happened just to happen. And so I'll get onto that later. And the why I've never dated, there's honestly only two reasons. There's the whole they don't like me and I don't like them, easy as that. I think it's just a matter of luck, as my mom calls it, yuanfen. There's just no kind of fate in my world. And so yes, we're just gonna start off with the why people didn't like me. And I mean, obviously, it's just because I wasn't attractive. Like, there's nothing really much about that. So yeah, like everyone else, I did not grow up conventionally attractive, I would say. I had no sense of style. I had no confidence. I was always on the skinnier side, so I guess that wasn't really it. And then, I mean, pre-puberty, I don't think I had acne, but then growing up, I did have acne. Braces, like most of my life, from like 5th grade up until my senior year of high school, maybe. I also, in terms of personality, I've always been pretty boyish. I don't know if you can ever get that from like the cameras, but like I have a pretty aggressive personality type. Like I'm an Aries and I can be really intense, I guess. And like, but yeah, just growing up, boys just never had a crush on me. And then middle school, I think, yeah, guys just weren't interested in me. And then I feel like the fashion bit is still true. The haircut, it's kind of awful. I guess wasn't conventionally attractive. Like nobody ever had a crush on me. And I mean, I was aware that other girls, like other boys had crushes on other girls and stuff like that, but like nobody ever told their friends about me. And I was never involved in one of those like, ooh, he has a crush on you, and then you like hear all this information. I've never been involved in one of those. And again, back to the personality thing, like yeah, I'm pretty boyish, I guess, so I love to tease people. I used to be really aggressive and mean because growing up in my family, which is literally like toxic in a way, they were just there's like tough love in my family, if there is any love. Yeah, so we would never say anything nice to each other, especially I grew up with an older brother and he would never say anything nice to me. My brother's honestly really, really mean to me still, and to the point where it's like not even like tough love, it's just like tough. And so that's how I treated other people because that was the only way I understood how to express affection. I'm a lot better now, but I would still say that I do lean on the side of being like the bickering, bantering type. If you know, one of my favorite tropes is enemies to lovers, and I understand in real life that isn't possible, but that's like one of the reasons I'm really attracted to it is because I'm only used to like rough forms of affection. So that's kind of like what I'm used to and what I guess think I like, because I'm also not able to handle people being really nice to me. So yeah, this is a whole load of trauma that we can talk about another day. But I will say in my life, I've actually only ever received one confession, and this is going to be a story that really demonstrates the story of my life in the way that people treat me and just the odd happenings that happen in my life. So I get one confession in my life, and it is also a insult. That sounds bad, but let me get into it. So basically, in elementary school, I'm still this like kind of tomboyish girl. Like I'm super competitive, really into sports. I'm like a try hard. When I interacted with the guys, I was always like making fun of them, and I was pretty harsh because as a child, no filter, and I didn't really understand the social norms in my opinion. But anyway, so this dude was actually just one of the many guys that I was always like bickering with, and I'm sure he was also one of the smarter kids, so we probably had this like academic rivalry going on. And don't K-dramify this because it's really not that deep. We're like in 6th grade, so like what are we doing comparing if we get 100% on our spelling test, it ain't like that romantic. But anyways, so he's just one of those kids. I literally, like, sure, we were friends, but it's not like we were besties. It's not like we texted outside of school, or if we did, I just don't really remember. And so yeah, so there's just this one dude, and basically I moved schools. I go to a middle school, and that was like my K-8 school, and I was only there until 6th grade. So then I moved to a school dedicated to only like 7th and 8th grade. And then that was when I was taking classes at the high school, because you know how you take, I don't know, but people take 1 year ahead of math. It was like very common. So of course I was doing that, being the try hard that I am. And so in 8th grade, I was taking my 9th grade class, and he was then in 8th grade, and he was taking 9th grade class. We were in different classes, but they were both offered at the high school. And so my middle school happened to be within walking distance of the high school. So then I would walk to the math class and then back with my classmates. And then he would take a bus with like that elementary school and maybe other elementary schools. But anyways, I just remember that like, so basically at this point we hadn't seen each other for like a year, 2 years at this point, because end of 6th grade into and then beginning of 8th grade. And so he would like say hi to me, but I guess he did it in a weird boy way where he would used to throw like ninja stars at me and like paper ninja stars and like whatever origami kinds of things. And I was just like, what the hell? Because obviously it'd been some time and I didn't think we were particularly close. So at this point I was just like, I don't really know what's going on. This is really, really weird. And so some time passed, and he eventually texts me on the iconic Kik. If you remember that back in the days, that was like the text messaging app. And so he messaged me being like, he's like, hey, after 6th grade, I started thinking in the summer that like I liked you. I don't really remember my response to any of this, but the best part is when he goes, oh, and then whenever everyone trash talks you, I would always defend you. And at this point, he might think that, oh, the emphasis is on the I would defend you part. Obviously, my question was trash talking me, because nobody wants to be trash talked. So then I'm like, oh, like, no way. Like, I literally don't go to that school anymore. Like, out of sight, out of mind, kind of thing. Like, they can't be talking about me. I'm literally not there. And then he was insistent. He was like, oh, no, you would be surprised. And so he's just insistent on telling me this. And, the best part is that he's saying that this is what they're saying behind my back. So it's like, if he didn't tell me, I would not otherwise know. And there really was no purpose in like letting me know these things. And he was just like arguing with me about the fact that they were trash talking me, when obviously I wanted to believe they weren't, because nobody wants to be trash talked. So that is my memory. That's actually the entire story, but that is my memory of receiving my first love confession. And it was an insult, and it was very inconsequential, his crush. Like, it wasn't like he wanted me to do anything. He didn't want to date me or anything. I don't remember being asked that. It was just him being like, oh yeah, I once had feelings for you, and by the way, everyone hates you. And I was like, great. So then, I feel like that affects me in the rest of my life. It's just like thinking like, oh, when you think they're not talking about you, they are. On to the second point why I've never dated. Obviously, it's the other way around, that Not only did guys not like me, but I did not like any guys. I will say that my very last crush was freshman year. And to give this story, it also shows you the story of my life and how funny and sad it is at the same time. So basically, if you remember that math class, actually, the one that I took when I was in 8th grade and it was at the high school. So he was one of the dudes that was also in that same program. So there's like maybe 5 or 6 of us that took the program. So that was when we first met and we were like friends, but we were more like acquaintances. I remember having like a positive relationship with him. It's not like we were completely strangers, which is why freshman year high school biology class, we are in the same class, and it just happens that he doesn't have any other friends in the class, whereas I have a friend in this Asian friend group who are going to be the death of me because they resulted in a lot of drama stuff and traumatized me for the rest of my life that I am going to therapy for literally right now, trying to fix my sense of self because of just the situations that happened that completely destroyed me. But yeah, that's a story for another day. But anyways, yes, back to the dude. So I have the friend in the class and he doesn't have any friends. So he starts showing me a lot of attention, as in he doesn't have any friends. So he's trying to like buddy up with me because he has no other friends in the class and he has like wants, obviously everyone wants someone to talk to. So then he started talking to me a lot and that we became actually close and like good friends at this point. And so obviously when he's showing me attention, I don't get that kind of attention. So obviously I was like, ooh. And then I started to have some sort of romantic inclination. I don't even know if I can even say that because what does a 14-year-old know about romance? And I think most people are attracted to people who are attracted to them, or at least start to become attracted because someone is attracted to them. I'm not any better. I'm not any different. And so, yes, that is why I started to develop feelings. So yeah, I would say that I had a crush on him. And obviously he was like this popular, smart, really nice, polite guy. And I mean, I still see him that way. He's always had a pretty good reputation. He's always been like a really good guy. And a lot of girls had a crush on him, which I also think was part of the appeal now because obviously, I talked about being kind of a loser, and I was, as in, I don't think anyone would think someone like him and someone like me would be friends because he was cool and I was not. And so part of the joy and like him giving me attention was like, oh, this popular guy is giving me attention. And yes, that was very new. And we texted. I don't really remember how often or even what we texted about, but we were definitely like friends to the point that other people would definitely look at us and be surprised and be like, oh, like, why are they friends, you know? And it was definitely like I was closer to him than like maybe, I don't know, like the average girl or something. So it was very like, I felt like I was on a pedestal in a way. Like I was just like, oh, I made it. Like I'm into the cool crowd or like, but the best thing about this is that didn't last for more than a month, I think. So basically at the time that I started telling people that I had a crush on him, he got into a relationship with a girl that I did not like. And yeah, she was just kind of bratty and annoying, I guess, and like whatever, just whatever you would describe like an annoying, like, I don't know, 14-year-old girl. Nothing particularly different about her. And so he started ignoring me because he had a girlfriend and he started texting her in class and not talking to me anymore. And then at this time, he ends up making actually like a guy friend in the class. So then he has his like own buddy. And I do remember that at some point we got to choose our seats. So obviously I was going to sit with my buddy who was this girl in this friend group. And he and his friend actually chose to sit with us. And it was like, oh, why is he sitting with us? And it's because he was friends with me. And so stuff like that obviously just like made me feel good about myself. And that's kind of like why I developed this crush. And so yeah, he then started dating that girl and he started ignoring me. And at that point, I had actually lost all feelings for him because it was like, oh, you're into like that girl. And like, I didn't say anything when he like talked about her and stuff. I was just kind of like, And so he dated that girl and she ended up cheating on him not too long after that. And then he started talking to me a lot more again in class because obviously he lost his girlfriend that he was constantly texting in class. So at this point, I was just completely over him. And then we went back to being friends. And yeah, that's the end of it. So on this point that like there weren't guys that I liked, the really funny thing is that I have actually rotated between straight guy friends throughout like my entire life. So after him, what's funny is I actually became good friends with his best friend because the following year we just happened to sit together in class. And so I got really close with the best friend and I was no longer friends with my former crush. And this is going to be funny too because he's actually going to be the reason that my friend group falls apart, or actually as in why I leave the friend group, because someone else in that stupid little friend group, one of them has a crush on him and begins to talk behind my back, like literally behind my back. I can envision the time that I kind of found out, because basically it'd been ongoing for months that she was talking behind my back, but then she literally started whispering to someone else in the friend group about me flirting with the other guy in front of me. So we were literally like, we used to do homework, I think, during lunch, because, nerdy little girls, what else do you do? So we were literally sitting in that class, and the desks were like set up to do tests, so it was like in a row. And so I was just sitting in front, and I literally could hear her whispering, and it was so obvious that she was talking about me in front of me, literally, like they're right behind me. She's telling this other person, and so I end up asking the other girl who I have a class with later. I'm like, oh, was she talking about me? And she just admits it, that like, yeah, she was talking about you. And basically I found out that it'd been going on for like weeks. And so yeah, this is going to lead to a lot of issues, because it's just the fact that I found out this girl was talking behind my back this entire time, and they were doing nothing about it. And they all thought it was wrong because they didn't think I was flirting with that guy. And I wasn't interested in that guy, by the way. So this is also going to lead to a lot of trauma. And I think it's going to be the reason why that like I am very, very clear about friendships and with guys, because I never want to lead them on, because I had the experience of being trash talked about in my own friend group, for a guy that I had no feelings for. And so I think that's also why I've now never received another confession, because there's no ambiguity, because I'm always very clear. And so like guys don't need to ask me out to know what would happen. It's very like from the beginning, it's clear that I don't like them, and which is also why. And so yeah, basically my point about this is just that I've rotated between guy friends, because after him, we were honestly, I don't really know when we stopped being friends. I would say maybe by the time we reached college, and it was nothing that happened this time. It was just kind of natural that we just kind of drifted apart out, and we weren't like that close. Like he was just like my closest guy friend, but we weren't actually like as close as like me and my female friends. Like we never hung out outside of school and stuff like that. And so yeah, basically I had a bunch of different guy friends who were actually straight and single, and yeah, I just was never interested in them, and they were all just weird one way or another. Like none of them were even actually like, I feel like really good friends, because like with girls, I feel like I can get close to a girl and we'll be like really close. We'll hang out outside of classes and stuff like that. But with guys, it was just never that way. So I rotated between this, and like sometimes I had an inkling of a crush, and it's like, but the thing is, it's literally worse because it's like not even a crush. Like I could not get to the point of being like, oh, I have a crush on this guy to tell people. So yeah, I had an inkling of a crush on this one guy that I met my sophomore year of college, which is actually like my first year because of COVID. So I'm like in LA at UCLA for the very first time. And so there's this guy. And so anyways, yes, this guy was older, and then we used to play tennis together. And one thing is that this guy was super popular. And again, you'll see that I have a weak side for attention and popular guys, because it just makes me feel special. So basically we were friends, and he had like a million other friends, but for some reason he literally met so many people that he couldn't remember anyone else's name, but he remembered my name, and then he also asked me to hang out, which was really crazy. And so basically, yeah, I started developing an inkling of a crush on him, but this again doesn't last for more than a month, because very soon after he starts flaking on me because he has like other friends, or maybe he just doesn't like me anymore. Maybe I'm just annoying, because I guess I can be the annoying personality type. And so it gets to a point where I'm kind of like being mean to him, but it's also just like me expressing my feelings of like sadness and annoyance. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you're just constantly flaking, and I'm just joking about it. And then he eventually goes, hey, like I don't feel comfortable with you constantly saying that I'm a flake or blah blah blah. And then I have a conversation, and then I like text him back being like, bro, you like actually are a flake, because he would cancel like an hour before we were supposed to play tennis or something. And so I told him like it also wasn't cool of him to treat me that way. And so after that we stopped being friends. And so yeah, that's like, I couldn't even like develop that crush on him because it just like lasted. It was so short. It's like, yeah, I had these positive feelings towards him when I only knew him in the beginning, and then like I just keep getting to know these people, and then it just gets worse and worse. And so yeah, then my next closest guy friend would be some guy that I met in a class, and then he's very interesting too. I used to call him my red flag friend, because he would joke in a way that was like socially unacceptable and low-key. I can never tell if they were actually jokes, which is similar to my brother. I couldn't tell if they were actually jokes or not. And so yeah, that was definitely a time. And then I actually would join a club, and I would make a club friend who is going to be, we're going to call him my toxic guy friend. And yeah, so then I would be really close to this guy, and then I just like keep rotating between guy friends. Then I made a guy friend in Korea, and this one's great because he has a girlfriend, and I've never felt like our relationship was ambiguous, and I've always been very comfortable with him because sometimes I feel like when you get really close to your straight guy friends and you're both single, it often, like, I think one is other people will start to say things. So with my toxic guy friend, literally everyone was telling me we were acting like we were dating, and I was just kind of confused because I was like, I treat him like I treat my girls, and I was just like, oh, I guess there's a line. Because like I can text my best friend for like 8 hours in a day, and if I text this guy for like 2 to 3 a day, it's like, oh, like you two are dating, acting like you're dating. And then basically because everyone was saying those things, it kind of influenced me, and I was just constantly like, is this okay? And I couldn't be as comfortable with my guy friends because of that. And then I like happened to have made a close guy friend at work, but that's also not happening because we're just not each other's types. And basically my point about this is just that I've had so many straight single guy friends, and yet not a single one have I developed any feelings for. And I assume they didn't develop feelings for me, but then we'll talk about this in the ambiguous relationships area, and then you can tell me if you think that they liked me, because this is literally the great debate. Like, I literally don't know if they've ever liked me, and yeah, it's just weird. And so what's really funny is that was all in the part of why I've never dated section. And so now we'll talk about my actual dating experience. And so, but the thing is, I would not say it's very normal. So first off, let's just talk about the dating apps, which is where it all begins. So basically in Korea, I've actually mentioned in one of my previous videos, but when I was studying abroad for like the first 4 of the first 6 months that I was there, I had no friends, was depressed out of my mind, feel like I really hit a rock bottom. And so basically at some point I got pretty desperate. This was actually in the like last 2 months of me being in Korea. And so I made friends, but they had left. And so I had nobody to hang out with. So I started thinking like, why don't I just date casually in Korea? And I don't know why I used Bumble. I think it was because I was using Bumble for the BFF side to make friends, to just hang out with. And then I ended up on the dating side because I was like, okay, I'll just go on casual dates and whatnot. And so I do match with this guy, and I honestly matched with him because I just saw him like a friend. He was like into K-pop and stuff like that, and so we met up, and then we ate together, we like danced together. And the thing about that is like none of it felt like a date because he didn't pay for the date, he didn't like make any sort of moves. We never wore like nice clothes. We literally just hung out like I would hang out with any one of my friends, and our topic of conversation was also very like normal. So I feel like nothing about it felt very date-like, and like we never texted or anything like that. Yeah, so the Bumble thing didn't really count for me. And then so what I actually consider my first date is actually set up from my last year's roommate. So basically she also just had this close guy friend who also hadn't had his first date or anything. So then both of us were just trying to get our first dates over with. And so we went on a date, and this one actually like was a date. Like he like walked to like where I lived, and then we walked to the place we were eating. He paid for my food, and then he walked me back. And basically the thing about this is just like I logically knew it wasn't really going to work out based off the kind of guy he was. He was just kind of like a really nice, polite dude that she was friends with. And he'd also like never been in a relationship, and he was just really, really nervous throughout the date. And I think one thing is that I am attracted to guys that are like confident because I don't really have that, and I feel like in a partner I want to respect them. And so he was just kind of like dorky and like nerdy, and he was just really nice. And the thing about that is like I'm not into bad boys whatsoever, but I do think that I'm not into super nice polite guys because again, as I mentioned, I really like to bicker and banter with someone. And the thing is, if someone's like not able to handle that, I can come off like really, really strong. I think we're just very different people. Like I'm not like super nice in a way, but it's not like I'm like going around harassing people and I'm like a terrible person, but it is definitely like a type of person that can handle me like constantly like teasing them. And yeah, I can be, I guess, a little intense sometimes. So that's why it didn't work out. And the thing is, it was just really like pointless in a way because I wasn't nervous at all for the date, and especially like when he was nervous, it made me a lot less nervous because I was just like, oh, it was just kind of boring. And that's just like my fault for just trying to go on my first date just to get it over with, which is also why I'm like not gonna force myself into a relationship, even though at times like I really would like to be in a relationship. Like who doesn't want to be in a relationship? And again, I want to get this first over and to like not say that I've never dated. But I guess that is kind of the result of what happens of when you're just like forcing your way through romance and it just doesn't work out. It's just now I have this memory of like my first date and it's just kind of like boring and it's lame. There's like nothing to say about it really because it wasn't like bad whatsoever. It just wasn't like particularly good or anything like that. And honestly, again, it was kind of like no difference between hanging out with one of like my guy friends and just eating with them one on one. So it just feels very anticlimactic. And the thing is, like with your first, like you just remember it for the rest of your life. Like the first confession story that I've ever had, I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life, and it just like sucks because it's not a very positive experience either. And so with my first date, I'm gonna remember it that way. And like I don't know, people probably think back on their first dates like a little bit like I don't know, maybe embarrassed, maybe just like, oh, like that's what it was like when I was young and stuff like that. But I just don't have any sort of emotion, which just kind of sucks. And it just sucks to never have been in the talking stage and kind of those like butterflies about whether things are going to work out or not. But the thing is, I have had some pretty ambiguous like guy friendships, relationships, because it's just like when I became really close to my straight toxic guy friend, he had constantly talked about women that it was just like, damn, like you will date anyone, it just sounded like. And I feel like guys, I mean, I wouldn't say girls are immune to this too, but like guys probably will like anyone or anything that likes them. It's just my experience with my personal guy friends. That's also why I'm in my low-key man-hating arc, and it's just like what I've experienced. Obviously, the more people I meet, the more I enrich my experiences, I will have a more positive impression, but it's just like so far with my guy friends, they just talk about girls all the time. And like I feel like it's very objectifying. Like they'll just talk about women like, oh, this girl's pretty, and like I don't know, they'll like go on TikTok and like Instagram and like follow like all these like girl influencers, and it's just a little like And then so after my first date experience and it wasn't really working out, I finally did the unthinkable and I downloaded Hinge. And so basically, yeah, I was obviously very desperate. And I think one thing is just my senior year of college, I was really thinking that I would have dated in college because I was finally open to it. Because even in high school, I just wasn't really open to dating because I was like, oh, it's not going to go anywhere. And I was like really sure about that. So in college, when I was like, I feel like more emotionally mature, like I was like finally ready to date. And basically, yeah, there was just nobody there. And so senior year, it like as I started graduating, I was like, damn, I like really never dated. And so that was when I got on the app. Basically, I just got really scared and chickened out. One thing is like, I'm not from the safest city in the world, and so when I was like texting these men, there was like two, I remember this, there was two guys that were completely normal that have finally asked me out on a date because guys just didn't really move that fast. So then they asked me out on a date and I was just like, okay, yeah, and this was maybe around spring quarter. So then I was like, oh yeah, like after I take my finals, or maybe this was winter quarter. And then basically after my finals, I just never reached out to them and I ghosted them because I just was like scared of the idea of going on another date where I'm just gonna like have to talk to them and like spend all this energy trying to get to know them when it like won't work out. And which is a little bit, I guess, pessimistic, but also part of it was just like I didn't want to sit there for an hour and potentially have like a really boring conversation just for the sake of like doing it. So then I deleted Hinge, and the funny thing is I'm going to re-download Hinge just to use it to make friends to play tennis with, because at this point I was like, okay, I just need to do something with my life. And so obviously I really like tennis. That's why I currently work at a tennis shop. So I downloaded it and I met two guys, and the first one actually ended up ghosting me. And again, none of these guys have ever flirted with me, and I only just played tennis with them. So the first one ghosted me, and then the second one I'm actually just friends with now. We only ever played tennis, and he like never made a move. And I think I wasn't opposed to something romantic happening, but basically I just like got to know him and I was just like, oh, I'm not really interested in him romantically. And so now we actually just played tennis together for several months, and we've actually still never hung out outside of playing tennis, basically. And so I think it's all very natural though. I've never had to have this talk about like friend zoning him and not being interested because he never made a move, and maybe he was interested, but like he never said anything. And so I think now it's very clear that we're just friends, and I actually don't see him anymore either. And yeah, so that's basically it for romance in my life, which basically, as you can tell, is like nothing because there's no mutual interest, there's no like talking stage. But the funny thing is I have had ambiguous guy friendships, as in people say that we act like we're dating. And so the first one is the main one actually is going to be my toxic guy friend. And basically the confusion with this is just because this is the same guy friend that was constantly talking about women and like feeling attracted to every single one of them. So then at this point I was like, okay, I'm also a girl too. Like I don't see why I wouldn't fall in this category. And the thing is, he actually used to do this thing where he would constantly tell me he didn't want to date me. And I was like, what is the point of you constantly telling me this? Because I'm also not interested, but it's not like I'm constantly telling him that because there's no purpose to it. And he would just say the craziest stuff. Like one thing that he once told me was that he thought that I wouldn't have with my boyfriend, so he was like, oh, I would never date you because you wouldn't do that. And I was just like, what do you think, who do you think I am? Like there's no reason in bringing it up and just like talking about it. It just doesn't matter because you should just not be romantically interested in me, and it shouldn't be because I act one way or another. At some point though, when I was actually studying abroad in Korea, I think I used to text him every single day for like 4 hours a day. And for me, I do that with my best friend, so in a way there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like because he was straight and a guy, is it different? Because if he had a girlfriend, would he be doing that? And if he had a girlfriend, would it be wrong as well? Like that kind of friendship. But it's also strange to me because it's like you can do that with your female friends. He would just ask to call him a lot, and we used to see each other like every single day. People used to tell me that we acted like we were dating because we spent so much time together. Yeah, so it was really odd. He would also make comments about how he would make such a great boyfriend, and then he would always tell me to set him up with my friends. And the funny thing is, he literally never introduced me to his friends, but he was constantly asking to meet my friends. So this was just a very strange situation. Like maybe he was just using me overall just to like get girls, but it's also strange because it's not like he even knew what my friends looked like. And so I've had like these kinds of relationships, and in a way it feels almost like if we had actually been romantically interested in each other, or if, I don't know, it would be kind of like a talking stage. I'm not gonna lie, at some point I was confused if I actually did like him because everyone was like gaslighting me and telling me that we acted like a couple. So I was wondering if I actually did like him. And at some points he was nice to me, and he would say things like, oh yeah, I'm really gonna miss you, you're like one of my closest friends, blah 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 blah. And I knew he used to tell me things that he didn't tell anyone else. And I know he acted really differently around me because I'm not really like partier cool girl, whereas he was one of those popular guys. So for a second I thought I actually liked him, and then I actually conferred to my friends and they're just like, no, you don't like him. And then I left to study abroad, and then I thought back and I was like, yeah, I didn't like him. And when he mentioned that he had found someone, I was like excited for him, and there was like no hint of like jealousy, I guess. And I feel like that would probably be the case if I were romantically interested. But yeah, we just had a really toxic friendship because he was just not very nice to me. He just kept making fun of me and didn't know where the line was. And then basically he just crossed my line one day, and we got into a huge argument about it. And basically our relationship was just never the same afterwards. We hung out still because I am absolutely a piece of trash because I do not have friends. He would initiate most of the time, so then he would initiate and I just wouldn't say no. So because I was just lonely and like desperate for friends too. And so eventually he stopped reaching out, and I obviously didn't reach out anymore. And so we just kind of naturally stopped being friends and just like, yeah, not really friends anymore. And I feel so much better about myself because I don't have someone constantly telling me that I am a loser for this, and this, and that yeah, that's a story for honestly in the friendship. If I make a video about friendship and the friendship drama, because there's a lot of friendship related content in that, because I don't actually know if he ever liked me. And it's just one of my biggest questions, because it's like, was he acting that way because he actually thought I was a piece of trash as his friend, or did he act that way because he liked me? One is more positive than the other, because one is just negative and one is like, oh, because he likes me, he acted kind of stupid. But yeah, we will never know, because guys never will tell me that they like me, because I don't know, maybe I'm an embarrassing person to like, or maybe none of them just have the confidence. You'll never know. And so in Via Lee's video, she talks about why she doesn't want to date. But the thing is, regardless of my entirely, like, pretty much negative experience with most of my straight guy friends, I actually still want to date. And for me, obviously, I do watch a lot of romance dramas. I ultimately think that being in love is a positive thing and a positive feeling. Honestly, the idea is not even just being in a relationship, because I've heard plenty and countless of examples of people in relationships that are unhappy. So my main point is actually not to just be in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship, but it's just about that feeling of like liking someone and being in love and having those happy moments of like spending time with someone that you really care about. Like that's the real part that I'm actually jealous about. So like when I see those TikToks of like guys doing things for their girlfriends, like that doesn't mean anything to me, because ultimately in the end, you don't know what their relationship is like behind closed doors. The thing that I'm actually jealous about is having that like positive relationship with someone, and those positive feelings. It does not matter what he does. It is just feeling happy, which is also a very rare emotion in my life as well, is just like the main thing that I'm really like jealous of, and the main reason I want to be in a relationship. Not just any relationship, okay? It's like one that makes you happy, makes you fulfilled, makes you a better person. Like I try my best to be like develop myself and better myself as a person. And so I do think that a romantic relationship would also like be a different kind of experience that would help me grow more as a person. And I'm super curious about what it's like and like to see how I will react. One of my good friends, she's been in a relationship, and how like she was picking up her boyfriend from the airport the next day and how excited she was to see him that she couldn't sleep. Like these are just positive emotions, and I've never felt that way about anyone. And so I think one part of me is curious what it's like to actually love someone like that. Like I love my friends and things like that, but I don't understand what like a romantic love. And I feel like to me, relationships are basically friends plus more. So I'm really curious to see that like I can develop this really close friendship with someone and then like them beyond that point. And yeah, it's just like constantly having someone present in your life, because I grew up like pretty lonely because of all like my friend issues. And now like I have a lot of distance friendships, and people are generally too busy in their lives for me. But I do have a feeling that I probably will be dating soon. The given fact that I've had already so many straight guy friends and none of them are worked out, it's just like the next one I meet, it's just like, what are the odds that I also won't be attracted to him? Because that's like a lot of coincidences that I've had so many straight guy friends and I've not fell for any one of them. So I mean, I think we're starting to reach the point where I will start making straight guy friends and be attracted to them, right? And it's not even the fact that I like want to date them. Like just even feeling attracted to someone, I feel like it's just a happy thing. Like even, okay, I probably won't be interested if he has a relationship, but like even if he doesn't like me, I feel like at least being able to express my feelings and being able to feel positively about someone is a good emotion. And so even if I get rejected, I still want to feel positively and like someone, because that's a good thing in the end. Like the end goal isn't really to just be with someone. It's just to like, there's just someone that exists in this world that just makes you happy, and yeah, you like care about them, and those are good feelings, I'm pretty sure. And I think so, yeah. And then I guess the second thing that I was saying is just like the other reason why I do think that I will end up meeting someone is because simply I do not have time for a guy right now in my life. Right now I am very tunnel vision on my career. I literally only work these days. So I literally work my job at the tennis shop, and that's like 30 hours a week. And on top of that, I am playing tennis. On top of that, I'm playing pickleball. On top of that, I am doing content, and content is also a good chunk of my life. So right now, I think going on dates with a guy and like being distracted, I guess, it's just honestly the worst timing for me. Because also like right now is like the best timing, considering I'm just started experiencing like a lot of growth. Like I'm at 9,000 subscribers now, and that is so many. And basically, I need to focus in on this, while it's like growing. And so, yeah, again, like a guy is just not in my cards, which is why I'm also not going to go back to the dating apps like ever. Like I think I'm really just gonna keep my head down and focus in on my career. And once my career stuff works out, then maybe I'll start coming back to like the family love relationships, because I do want to get married. I do want to have kids. I feel like previously when my life was more empty, I was like, oh, I wish that there was a guy here because my life was so empty. But right now I've got so much to do that I literally don't have time for a guy. And honestly, that's what happens to me frequently. It's just like when I don't have time for things, then they start to come up. Like when I used to not have friends, I literally was doing nothing with my life. And then once I got friends, I started getting really busy with my life. So then when they would ask me to hang out, I'd literally be busy, which is like such a shame. But that's just generally how my life works out. Like things just never fall into place. Recently, I went home, and I also mentioned like that's why I didn't get any content done. That weekend, literally, I got asked to play in a pickleball tournament for free. And it would have been a good opportunity to like socialize with the members at my club, because I'm trying to actually get pickleball certified so I can coach and I can make more money because I'm making minimum wage. And basically, it's just like a really random once in a lifetime opportunity, not once in a lifetime, but just like rare opportunity. And I just happened to go home that one weekend, and it happened to be that one weekend that these things were happening. But right now at this part of my life, I'm not actually joking when I say like, I'm really like, I've got these career goals that I'm really trying to hit, and I really want to accomplish them. And I literally have no time as it is. So adding a human into my life, that's a lot. And what's really funny is this entire video also got triggered by a recent incident of, so basically I've been going to pickleball, and pickleball is a very social thing if you don't know. I went with a friend, but he had an even number, and people usually play doubles. So I was like the odd number, so that means I needed a partner. And so I ended up just like hopping around courts, just like kind of playing with whoever had an odd number so that I could just like play in. And so basically, I end up on this court with this group of guys, and I could tell that they're I feel like they're just looking me up and down and thinking, oh, it's a girl. But the thing is, I play tennis, as I mentioned again and again. So I'm kind of pretty good at pickleball. Like where I'm playing, I have actually not seen a girl that can play better than me, and I play better than the average guy out there. I was playing really bad, and if anything, I still was probably maybe the worst. But I also got paired with the guy. Out of the 3 guys, I got paired with the guy that was also the worst. So then the 2 of us lost so badly. But I feel like by the way I was playing, you could tell that I can hit the ball. It was just not going in a lot of the times that day. And so anyways, we play this game, we lose massively, and I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm like, damn, like I was really trying to show them that like I can play well. And anyway, so I'm like leaving when one of the guys, he's like, hey, do you want to like play with us again? And I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, I'd be down. And I was pretty excited because I was like, oh, he acknowledged me in terms of like my skill level. And then basically what happens is he just starts talking to me a lot, and he's just like asking me a bunch of questions like, oh, when do you come out, blah 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 blah. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, like this is when I come out. And I'm like, oh, honestly, I think I have seen you before, because he like comes regularly, and just when you go often enough, I have really good facial recognition, so I just kind of recognized him. There's like no other reason to it. Like there's other guys that I recognized as well. And so I was just like, oh yeah, like I've seen you around before. And he's like, oh my God, really? Like I've never seen you around before. And at this point, I'm still just like, okay, this is just really friendly of him. And then, so he's talking to me when some girl comes up, and she is angry. And so she's like stomping away, and he chases after her. And so I'm like, oh, girlfriend. And so I'm talking to the guy, some other guy that I just played with basically. And I was just like, oh, is that his girlfriend? And he's just like, oh, you would think. And basically they're just like really good friends or something like that. And so we continue to play pickleball, and he comes back, and she switches out his paddle for hers. So then she plays with us instead of him. So it's the same 4 people minus him, and the girl's playing instead. And so yeah, we play, and we actually beat them this time because I switched partners, and I got one of the better guys, and the guy that was my partner is playing with the girl. The other team, they kind of leave, and then me and my partner end up staying around because the team after us, they only had 2, so we just kept playing with them over and over. So during this time, this guy that originally was like talking to me a lot, he's just kind of loitering around our court, and he's asking, oh, like what's the score? And he's just kind of loitering around, and I'm just kind of like, oh, he's just being really friendly, and like I'm thinking like, oh, he's probably just friends with the guys that I'm with. And so yeah, he's just doing that. So at some point I'm heading out, and he goes, oh yeah, we should connect. And I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. Like he's just kind of saying that just to say that. And I was also thinking like, oh, I'll see him again another time, because he does go out very frequently. So afterwards, I'm actually heading out, and I just like didn't bother to see him and get his Instagram or whatever. And then I'm waiting on the court of my friend. So because I just like wanted to like, I don't know, say goodbye before we all left, because technically we did come together, but I just didn't play with him at all. And then the dude that kept talking to me actually stays next to me and is talking to me for 5 to 10 minutes while waiting on my friend's court. And the thing about this is I genuinely thought he was interested, but we'll continue the story, and you can give me your 2 cents to see. But basically, he just kept talking to me, and he did get my Instagram. And the thing is, he goes out so frequently that he literally knew everyone there. So then for me, this is when I was like, oh, is he actually interested in me? Because literally people are saying hi to him or bye to him as they walk out, and he's just like talking to them. And I'm just like, okay, like why is he talking to me? And he's like literally waiting on the court that my friend is playing on, so he doesn't know them. And so he's just talking to me, and he's just asking me more questions about myself. We're talking about our mutuals on Instagram, and he's just like, oh yeah, we should play together again someday. And so at this point, I'm just like, oh, is this guy interested in me? Because yeah, I think standing around on the court with me for 5 to 10 minutes, I was like, oh, this is kind of like very forward. And I'm usually really, really bad with telling if guys have a crush on me or not. But I was like, okay, I feel like this guy is interested, because why else is he doing this? Oh, and then I did forget to mention that he did try to invite me to ice cream with his friends after, which kind of came to mind only after the 5 to 10 minute talk happened, because I was like, when he just said it, I was just like, oh, that's kind of random, and that's like not my place to go to your friend's like ice cream birthday social. And so, but I think when I was thinking back, I was like, oh, he was like really trying to like get to know me, I thought. And then so the following week he shows up, and basically I'm waiting on my same friend actually, and he actually doesn't end up showing up. So I'm just by myself, and I'm like looking for my friend when I like make eye contact with him coming in, and he doesn't really say anything. And I think part of it could have been like I was kind of far away, and he might also not recognize me because we only met once. But this also goes to show that he probably wasn't that interested in me if he didn't like come by and say hi or anything. But what he did do, he went to go talk to someone else, and I actually know that girl because we have like a mutual. And so he like was standing next to her and talking to her for a bit too, and I was just like, oh, he just does this with everyone. And so I'm not gonna lie, over the week he is attractive, and I was like, once I thought he was interested in me, I immediately was started to get interested in him. And then so yeah, I did think about him, and I was like, oh, is this like finally the start of like romance? And I got really, really excited, but I knew one part of me was always just like, I need to get to know him. Like, I don't actually like him. I like the idea of him. And unfortunately, it is now over. Another thing is, not only did he go talk to that girl, but he also showed up with that same friend that stomped away. And I started thinking like, oh, even if they're friends, they've got a complicated relationship going on. And so I am just don't want to be a part of that. I just assume now that it was just friendly, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe I was being delusional. Maybe he is interested, but even if he is interested, it's like not that much. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, okay, I only was interested because I just like having attention, which is a recurring theme. Is like, it's so true though. People like people that like them. And so now that I'm like completely over it, I'm ready to be completely cool. And the funny thing is, I literally was about to even text him that following week, because I don't have friends to go to pickleball with, and he was kind of good. So I was like, okay, I could reach out. And one part of me was like, oh, I don't want to like stir the pot and like make him think I'm interested when I'm actually not that interested. This is just so complicated and overthinking and dumb of me, I know. And so yeah, I'm so glad I didn't end up doing that, because he did show up with that female friend of his, and I feel like that would have just been a really awkward situation of me, this girl who kind of seems like she has a crush on him. I don't know the entire story, and the funniest thing is like, yeah, I don't know the reality of any of it, like what was actually going on and how they perceived it. And this is funny the way I'm perceiving it, because obviously I'm describing it as if he's like interested in me, and I'm like specifically picking out pieces of evidence that would make you think that he's into me, when I think by now I'm kind of like, oh, he doesn't like me. Because honestly, if he did like me, he probably would have texted me, and then he probably would have talked to me the day that I was by myself. And so I think that was really what triggered my romance obsession. I think right now I'm a little bit in a like, oh, I want a boyfriend mood. And so it's also one of the reasons I'm making this video, is because I just feel so freaking single. And so it's like this incident on top of like the other YouTubers posting their versions of like romance videos. I'm just kind of like, okay, this is a sign that this video was to come out. And also I've been in a little bit of a slump. And so I was like, oh, I don't really want to film like a drama video. And yeah, that kind of just like really wraps up the end of like romance, because after that, now that I'm over him, I'm kind of like starting to lose this feeling of like I need to be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, it's okay not to date. I think I've had enough guy friends to feel like, oh, you know, it might not be all butterflies and rainbows when you're dating, because guys can sometimes just be I don't have time to be dating, and I'd rather meet someone when I'm at a further point in my career. I think there will also be a lot more opportunities to date if I were to be more settled in my career, rather than just kind of dating anyone that's just around me. And I feel like right now, because I'm still young, I should just enjoy kind of my life, because if you were to have a partner, you do have to start considering them in a lot of your like life plans. And right now I kind of just want to live selfishly for myself. Like I tell myself like I will not have kids any earlier than 30, because the first half of my life I was like completely unhappy. So for my 20s, I really just want to live it for myself and do whatever makes me happiest without having to think about other people and other things feeling. So it is honestly for the best that I am currently not dating. As with my date situation, it's just the right person will come along when they come along, and there's no point in just rushing to date just anyone. like there really is no reason, because then you're gonna look back and think like, oh, why did I rush into it? And now you have just like a random memory of you just like acting upon things that you wish you didn't. And I have this issue a lot. Maybe it's because I have a fiery personality, but I am constantly regretting my decisions to actually do things over things that I didn't do. And so with that, I just really want to leave off on the note that it is okay not to date. It is okay to be single. And my biggest piece of advice would be to just do all the things that you can't do when you're in a relationship. And, or yeah, I know that could sound like a lot of other things, like going clubbing or something, but for me, it's really just like my career things. Like once I'm in a relationship, career will probably take a backtrack, because I'll be busy like going on dates and like spending time with people versus like social life, because they tell you can't have it all. It's like the triangle's like career, love, and sleep. And so sleep is important, and career right now is really important. So I'm focusing in on those two things. So I'm going to just go full in on my career for as long as I can until that comes along. And then hopefully by the time my career is settled, then I can focus more in on relationships. Yeah, so with that was a very, very long chatty video. I don't know if this was interesting. I don't know if this was helpful, but it's out there on the internet. So that is that. So if you actually managed to make it this far, thank you for watching. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.